Today's video is all about emotional eating. This is something that I struggled with for a majority of my life. There is no one cut and dry answer for every person out there. Different things work for different people, but these are my 5 tips that I highly recommend that you try if you are currently struggling with emotional eating yourself. Now, the first thing that I want to say is that we are human beings, which means that we are emotional. And food is a natural dopamine releasing substance that makes us feel better, that soothes our emotions. So don't think that there's anything wrong with you because you are struggling with emotional eating. It is a much more common problem than you probably think, but most people just don't talk about it because they either are not aware of their habits or they may just feel shame about it. So first thing, be patient with yourself. We're emotional human beings and we look to food for comfort, and that is okay. But it's gotten you to where you currently are and you want to change that. You're not happy about that. Perhaps you've gained excess weight. Perhaps you feel like it's a habit that you no longer can manage. That's what we're going to address today. Now, the first tip that I have for you is to track your food either in a physical diary, in a journal, or in an app online. Now, you do not have to have a calorie goal or a macronutrient goal. The reason why you want to track your food, specifically before you eat it, is because tracking it will give you a pause. It'll allow you to take a second before you decide what you are going to eat or before you actually put the food in your mouth. It gives you a second to first think about whether this is something that you actually want to eat because you are hungry, because you feel like you need nourishment, or are you just bored? Are you just looking for something to do? Are you looking for a way to soothe your emotions? What tracking will do and taking that pause before you eat something is, again, allow your mind to take a second and pause before immediately acting on your emotions. It's hard to catch yourself in the act when your emotions are heightened and you immediately go to the pantry and grab a snack. It's so easy to do that on automatic and on autopilot if it's something that you've been doing for years. So taking a second and setting a rule that you are going to track everything before you eat it really will help you take a pause and actually determine, are you hungry or do you need to find a way to occupy your mind? Do you need to find a hobby? Do you need to go on a walk? Tip number 2 is to try intermittent fasting. Now, this may sound like a weird tip, but hear me out. So intermittent fasting is when you eat during a specific time of the day and then you don't eat the other hours of the day. So for example, you decide that you want to eat between 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's your eating window. So anytime outside of that window, you choose not to eat. You fast. For me, why intermittent fasting has actually helped my emotional eating is that because I often find the time that I'm supposed to be fasting, I notice myself often getting bored and wanting to eat out of emotion rather than true hunger. And so because I know that I'm currently in my fasting window, I have to find another way to quell that emotion outside of food. My mind really likes that rule of, hey, it is not your eating window right now, so you need to find something else to do to help you soothe your boredom or your anger or your stress. And so it's really encouraged me and honestly forced me to find different ways to soothe my emotion outside of food. Tip number 3 is to have audios and podcasts and videos that you can go to as soon as you start to feel your emotions heighten. You want to find audios and videos that help you calm down and that help you recenter yourself and your emotions. To give you an example, right now, someone that I'm finding so much calm and peace and joy in listening to is Wayne Dyer. So I've been listening to his videos, especially when I feel like my emotions are out of balance. And so those mental reminders that you hear during those videos can be exactly what you need to feel recentered without having to go to food. But what is important is that you find these audios and videos in advance, because when you are emotional, it can be hard to do that work because your mind is already jumbled. So you want to do it, you want to find these videos and audios and podcasts when you are in a calm and centered state of mind so that you have them as immediate go-tos when you do feel triggered by a certain negative emotion. Tip number 4 is to have go-to high protein, healthy snacks on hand. Now again, you're a human being and foods do bring us a lot of comfort and joy. I don't expect you to never eat when you feel emotions, but what is so helpful is to have high protein, satiating, healthy snack that you can immediately grab and eat when you are feeling those high emotions and you do want something to quickly soothe you. It's so much harder to get satiated on high sugar and high fatty snacks, which tends to be what we reach for when we are feeling emotional. And then now we've overeaten on our calories, we feel overly full, it's a lot harder to stop, and then we feel even worse about ourselves. So having those easy go-to high protein snacks is so helpful. Tip number 5 is to actually say out loud or tell yourself internally that you are experiencing the urge to emotionally eat. What that does is it tells your mind to pause. Hey, this is not an actual need of wanting to nourish my body. I am doing this out of emotion. And just taking that second to pause and tell yourself that you're experiencing the urge to emotionally eat can actually trigger you to think more logically and go, okay, well, in the past when I've done this, it didn't help, it didn't work, or it helped temporarily, but the negative side effects of how I felt afterwards were just not worth it. So I've gone through this in the past where I felt the need to emotionally eat and it didn't work the way I wanted to. So what can I do right now to help me feel better? Your self-talk plays a huge role in emotional eating. And oftentimes what happens is that we feel negative emotion, we have the habit of, oh, I should go grab food, but we're not even thinking consciously through these things. It's automatic. I feel angry, I feel bored, I immediately walk to the pantry and I grab something. And all of this is often done without our conscious awareness. So awareness that you are experiencing the urge to emotionally eat is absolutely the first step, but also saying it to yourself, whether it's out loud or in your head, can really help trigger the logical side of yourself that understands long-term, this is not the most beneficial habit for you, and it'll go to work to brainstorm ideas that can help you feel better without the use of food. If you have any additional requests for what you want me to make a video on, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.